a member of the Sannin, Hokage candidate and part of the Prodigal Three, and the Toad Sage of Mount Miyaboku. All these titles belong to one man, Jiraiya the Gallant. You wouldn't be mistaken for thinking to have these titles, this man would have to be strong. But is he strong enough to clear the Akatsuki? The Akatsuki are a bunch of badass, Biju hunting S-rank criminals who work in the shadows to gain control of the world with threats of their power. Wanting to achieve capture of all the Biju to make a Biju weapon that can erase countries and to collect enough money to control military assets, these guys are dangerous. Let's play out the narrative for why I'm making this battle. For one, people voted for it in my polls as the next video idea. But other than that, I put it up there as an option because in the story, Jiraiya actively spied on the Akatsuki. I'm gonna go over Jiraiya versus each individual member as if he's starting off fresh in each fight. Versus the stronger members, I'll say how a hypothetical Sage Mode fight would go, then explain whether or not I believe he can go in Sage Mode afterwards. Just a quick sponsor from myself. I do all the work for these videos. I write it, record it, edit it, and gather all the visual stuff that you see on the screen. So if you guys do like what you see, please leave a like and subscribe. Thank you. Before I go over the fights, I'm going to go over some of Jiraiya's stats and what he offers to the arena today. Jiraiya might not seem like a speedster, and for the most part, he isn't. He's not going to run at lightning speed or body flicker all around, but nonetheless, he is quite agile and quick in battle. Once I break down some of his speed feats that often go overlooked, you'll sort of see what I mean. He's generally just completely considered above Kakashi as a fighter, to the point where being Kakashi level is used as an insult to Kabuto by Orochimaru, and Orochimaru is of course equal to Jiraiya. We even see Kabuto go to kill Shizune and give up right away just because Jiraiya is there. He knows Jiraiya is severely weakened, but still decides he doesn't stand a remote chance against Jiraiya, even when he's weak. And he goes back to Orochimaru, unable to complete his task. When Kakashi fights against Kisame, he is able to copy his hand signs motion for motion and release a jutsu of equal speed and power to Kisame, and come in front of him from off-panel to clash. A little known fact, Kakashi isn't any faster in Shippuden than he was during that encounter, as shown on his Shinobi progress charts that are made to show you how much a ninja grows over time, and his stats stayed the same. Meaning so did Kisame's, since later he lost to Kakashi's rival who stated inferior to Kakashi on several occasions. So on paper, Jiraiya should have no problem fighting even Kisame in terms of speed. And this isn't even just scaling, this is literally demonstrated on screen when he meets Kisame and almost kills him with his powerful Toad Jutsu. Kakashi is basically demonstrated to be a good fight for any Akatsuki member, other than the top 3, with even the dad book saying Guy isn't inferior to the Akatsuki members. Also, in order to be a rival to Orochimaru, he needs to not get blitzed by him, and we do see him react to Orochimaru several times when they are both arguably evenly nerfed. Orochimaru was able to contend with Hiruzen, who's stronger than any Kage alive, including the Raikage or Inoki, which should mean that the Sannin aren't just getting blitzed by the Raikage or people of that speed either. And that's demonstrated by Tsunade. She's able to combo with him several times, and all the Sannin are basically relative in battle. We also see Sage Mode Jiraiya able to fight and react to pain, with difficulty of course, and base Jiraiya could somewhat fight pain, but quickly got outpaced in speed and ability. We also see Jiraiya easily blitz Konan several times in a matter of seconds. His arsenal is filled with tons of Toad Jutsu, where he can summon a Toad right on top of you, pull you into a Toad dimension, poison you in the belly of a Toad, or suffocate you in Toad guts that close in around you. He has the sensory barriers he can throw up. He has extreme taijutsu skill and his Lion's Mane that is very fast and very strong and can literally rip apart summonings or immobilize people. He has his Sage Mode, which made it possible to fight pain, and along with that comes with Senjutsu. Powers that overwhelm normal ninjutsu of similar size, and Frog Song, which can be instantly used without prep to trap people with the strongest audio genjutsu. There's sort of a misnomer that it takes prep to do it, but it doesn't. We see it in Naruto's fight with Pain. It's the first jutsu used by Manpa right away. Against Pain, she literally didn't want to embarrass herself because she hasn't sung in a while when Jiraiya summoned them, so we aren't considering that as a possibility here. Jiraiya also has massive scale ninjutsu that can cover massive areas of land, a swamp that can immobilize giant summons, and his Rasengan variants. So long story short, he's hacked as all fuck, and he is fast enough to contend with the Akatsuki to some degree, in Sage Mode for the stronger ones. Let's start with arguably the weakest member of the Akatsuki, Hidan. Although he is weak, as in his weapons suck for conventional battle and he lacks jutsu variety, he is physically the most gifted member of the Akatsuki, with his healing factor and immortality. On top of that, he's able to contend with hand-to-hand experts like Asuma and Kakashi. So he's certainly a fearsome opponent for most ninja, and he's the one in the duo who gets bad rap, despite the fact that he's the one being shown getting the wins. Maybe this is due to Kakuzu putting into work and Hidan getting the final blow, but we really don't know. What we do know is that he doesn't stand a chance against Jiraiya. Jiraiya has a massive arsenal that would make a hand-to-hand encounter with Hidan not needed. One Dark Swamp or Toad landing on Hidan and he's done. Although, what is interesting to think about is that despite the Sage Toads being stronger than Hidan, he could still beat Gamabunta since he's such a big target, and once he gets his blood, he could just stab his own heart. Jiraiya easily beats this dude though, 10 times out of 10 with no difficulty. You need to be above Kakashi level to pose a threat to Jiraiya. Hidan is not, and this is a trend. Up next is Clayboy. Deidara is deceptively strong. He had a hard-fought win against Gaara and lost in a close fight to Sasuke Uchiha. His ranged arsenal is hard for a lot of ninjas to deal with, because he could just fly out of the danger zone and attack from a distance, and if we get into all the later bombs, it could spell defeat for Jiraiya. But I doubt it would make it that far. Jiraiya would be able to easily handle people at Gaara's level, quite easily. He is stated to be an equal to Orochimaru who beat Rasa. Rasa is shown to be an equal to a later Gaara. On top of this, Orochimaru was shown to be a match for old Hiruzen, who's stated the strongest Kage alive even when he's old, meaning that struggling with Kage level people like Gaara isn't enough to beat someone like Hiruzen. We know Sasuke was a bit too fast for Deidara. That same Sasuke was able to be reacted to by a literal deathbed Orochimaru, and would have lost to a near-dead Orochimaru if not for the body swap ritual failing. If he intended to kill Sasuke instead of take his body, then he could have just taken his head off when he was paralyzed by the poison, and not tried to swap bodies. Meaning that Sasuke at this point isn't even a match for a nearly dead Sannin, let alone a perfectly healthy one, which Jiraiya isn't equal to. Proving relative to Orochimaru even with feats, Jiraiya should have no issue fighting someone as fast as Heavy Sasuke in battle. That win con for Jiraiya against Deidara is quite a lot. The Toad summoning could close the distance on Deidara in flight, and he has his ranged fire attacks and his fire and oil attacks that can cover whole forests. On top of that fact, Jiraiya can literally summon a toad from the sky to land on Deidara in flight. It could be argued he might just start the fight by trapping Deidara in the toad belly. I see him winning 10 out of 10 against Deidara. He can also restrain his arms with Lion's Mane and not allow him to eat clay too. Next up is Puppet Man, Sasori of the Red Sand. Now Sasori is actually a tough one for Jiraiya to deal with when it comes to his deceptive hacks abilities he can pull on Jiraiya, like playing dead and attacking from a blind spot and making poison clouds. But one thing to consider is that Jiraiya wasn't even brought to near death by Hanzo, a poison master, so this isn't the first time he's dealing with poison. He will see this puppet and his poison and come up with a plan to stop it. It's also possible he restrained Sasori's puppet body with his Lion's Mane jutsu, which is fast enough to blitz Konan, strong enough to temporarily restrain Pain and Konan, and we see it stop attacks from Orochimaru, who's undoubtedly stronger than Sasori too. On top of that, he can greatly hinder Sasori's movement with the Swamp Jutsu. None of Sasori's initial attacks will be fast enough to tag Jiraiya since he's equal to Tsunade, and Sakura isn't nearly as fast as Tsunade. Plus, base Naruto was able to react to a bloodlusted Shio, who's relative to Sasori. So Sasori isn't fast enough to blitz Jiraiya. From Sasori's speed not being enough, to Jiraiya fighting poison masters in the past, with arguably better poison than Sasori, I don't see this as an issue for Jiraiya, and I see him winning 10 out of 10 times still. Kakuzu is a very dangerous and powerful ninja, touted as being one of the most deadly Akatsuki members, and it's not for no reason. His speed is relative to Kakashi, and so are his ninjutsu, and is able to match several times with Kakashi in ninjutsu clashes. Although Kakashi would have defeated him with his Mangekyo Kamui, it is still remarkable that he pushed Kakashi that far. His mastery over elemental ninjutsu and his diamond armor are enough to make him a very dangerous opponent. On top of the fact that he has to be killed several times, it's even worse. Unfortunately for Kakuzu though, Jiraiya's scale of ninjutsu is just massively more powerful than his. Kakashi level people are considered a meme to Jiraiya and the Sannin, and everyone echoes this sentiment. Jiraiya would easily be able to handle any ninjutsu clash with Kakuzu, on top of the fact that he can have his Biju level Sage Toads out there helping him against the hearts. This isn't looking good for Kakuzu. Again, if he uses his swamp to immobilize Kakuzu, as we see him do with Four Tails Naruto in the anime, Kakuzu would be heavily restricted, on top of the fact that he can restrain him with his hair. The Earth Heart will be an issue, but several Rasengan will be able to take care of it. And all the other hearts will be gone by the time it's just down to the Earth Heart. Thanks to the hearts not being Biju level like the Toads, at the end of the day, Gamabunto landing on him might actually be enough to handle this, even if he had all of his hearts. As an Edo Tensei, we see the smashing him on the floor with something heavy is enough to render him useless. On top of that fact, Naruto beat Kakuzu and still considers himself weaker than Jiraiya, and only accepted Sage training because of the promise to surpass Jiraiya. Even in base, Jiraiya is winning 10 out of 10 times. Kakashi level people can't cut it. Paper Girl is quite impressive, but we've already seen that Jiraiya already had a plan to take her down, probably because he was her sensei. If she wasn't saved by pain, and the bubbles washing away the oil, she would have lost to Jiraiya very quickly, which is impressive considering she can react and time an attack to blow up Obito when he meant to grab her. Jiraiya beats her every time. Shark Boy doesn't stand a chance against Jiraiya, and it's not even close. I actually wagered to bet Jiraiya would have a harder time against Kakuzu. We don't need to do any speculation for this battle. We've already seen how Jiraiya started the fight with him. In his encounter with him, he would have beaten Kisame by suffocating him in Toad Guts if it wasn't for Itachi's intervention. On top of the fact that he states he can't handle Sannin, and this isn't an idle statement. He has seen Orochimaru. We also see Kakashi cut in and save Asuma and Kurenai from Kisame, copying his hand signs and launching a jutsu of equal strength to cancel out Kisame's, which is impressive considering Kakashi countered a water jutsu from Kisame. Itachi even stated a fight against Kakashi will be hard for Kisame. People say he was trying to save the leaf or something by not having Kisame kill Kakashi, but he told Kisame to kill Asuma and Kurenai, so that ain't it. People also say Kisame got stronger in part 2, but this is baseless. His 30% clone got blitzed in one shot by Guy the moment he entered 6th gate. And 7th gate Guy one-shot Kisame too. We do know Kakashi is stronger than Guy, and is stated literally a fuck ton. In the character progression chart, Kakashi from the second half of part 1 and into Shippuden didn't get any stronger or faster. He just has more stamina due to getting better with the Sharingan. And we see Kakashi running alongside 6th gate Guy. Itachi warning Kisame definitely wasn't an idle threat. Jiraiya wins easily, as we've seen on panel. Okay, so this is where it gets lopsided, due to the huge gap in power from Itachi and the rest of the list. Itachi being able to easily beat everyone below him. We see he knows how to deal with Jiraiya's Tojutsu, and we see him body Orochimaru on a couple of occasions. Surely Jiraiya knows baseline abilities of Itachi, but he might not know of the stronger ones. He can seal Amaterasu, this is true. And both times Itachi beat Orochimaru, it was due to Orochimaru being cocky, being caught off guard, as he didn't even try to dodge the Totsuka blade because he didn't care, until he realized what the sword was directly after making fun of it. In base, I see Jiraiya having a very hard time against sick Itachi, like the one that fought Sasuke, but I do think it's possible for him to win. If he uses Susanoo, Jiraiya can just immobilize it and pull it into a swamp, which the legs of the person that are in the Susanoo would be compromised. So in reality, the Susanoo wouldn't be a good option here. But the main issue I left out until now is Tsukiyomi. It's very likely he would catch Jiraiya in base with Tsukiyomi. Therefore, I see base Jiraiya only winning 1 or 2 times out of 10 fights against even a sick Itachi. Because it is possible for him to beat Pain, like Pain said, so it would be possible for him to come up with a plan to beat Itachi. But I think it's very unlikely. But if Jiraiya has Sage Mode and Ma, this fight changes dramatically. As we do see that Jiraiya can react to Pain, so reacting to Itachi won't be out of the question. And all this same jutsus apply from his base, but now Tsukiyomi ain't landing, since he can close his eyes. On top of already showing a weakness to sound genjutsu, I see this being a hard fight for Itachi. I see Jiraiya figure out a way to catch him with Frog Song, just like he did against the other Akatsuki member. So I see Sage Jiraiya beating the sick, worn out Itachi 6 times out of 10 with very high difficulty. If it's hypothetically healthy Itachi, or maybe even a part 1 Itachi though, I see Itachi winning basically all of the time. Now to preface, I do not think he would be able to enter Sage Mode in this fight. So I do think it's more likely that he loses 8 or 9 times out of 10. Unless you grant him hypothetically that he could have entered Sage Mode. Pain vs Jiraiya already happened, so we don't need to talk about that too much. Base Jiraiya loses every single time, and Sage Jiraiya has the possibility of beating him a couple times out of 10, as Pain stated himself, If he knows that there are 6 pains, Jiraiya in Sage Mode stands a good chance, and if they haven't seen Frog Song yet, hypothetically, I say Jiraiya can beat the 6 paths of pain half the time with Frog Song, if they are all 6 fighting on equal footing. Given the scenario we were given, I say it's safer to say pain wins the majority still. Obito is a tough one. He has no real answer to Kamui, and he doesn't have prior knowledge of how it works. So in base, I see this fight going horribly for Jiraiya, as he tries to figure out how to hit Obito. I see base Jiraiya not figuring this out in time and losing the majority. Although, if he does figure out how it works, he can potentially tag Obito a few times. Although, I think Obito is a bit too durable to take down with a Rasengan from Jiraiya, considering Minato is stronger than Jiraiya and didn't outright beat Obito either. If this fight starts in Sage Mode, I see Jiraiya having an overall easier time, not being caught lacking due to Ma and Pa and his Toad summonings. I didn't mention the Toad summonings against Itachi, because he would no-dip them with Amaterasu. Obito doesn't have that option though, so they'd be somewhat of an issue. All those extra set of eyes would prevent Obito from doing sneaky shenanigans, but Obito should still be able to put them down with Wood-style jutsu. I think it's possible and likely Frog Song does hit Orange Mask Obito though, giving Jiraiya 5 or 6 out of 10 against Orange Mask Obito in Sage Mode, and like 1 at best in base somehow, but I don't see that happening. And like I said, I don't think that he'd even be able to enter Sage Mode against Obito, so I think it's more likely that he just loses. But if you hypothetically grant him Sage Mode, I could see it very high difficulty 5 or 6 out of 10 if they just straight up use Frog Song. Zetsu is arguably pretty ass, and Jiraiya should have no issue with him, unless he can just blitz Ten Tails Madara, which probably isn't the case since he was scared of Kakashi and Minato. So the conclusion is, and I'm gonna just press real hard right now to avoid bad comments, Jiraiya easily beats most of the Akatsuki members with very little difficulty, since most of them are Kakashi level in most aspects. With Frog Song and a plan, he could potentially beat Itachi, Obito, and Pain. If it's healthy Itachi or Edo Itachi, he's not really winning at all. Or very little. Depends on the circumstances for Pain, and Frog Song could potentially beat Obito too, if Obito doesn't take care of the Toads in time. But that's if you grant he even gets Sage Mode at all, because I'd say he wouldn't even be able to get Sage Mode against Itachi or Obito unless the environment allows it. So he's below Obito, Itachi, and Pain, with potential ways of being dangerous to them, and being above Kisame, right where Orochimaru would have been placed in the Akatsuki. Crazy. Alright guys, this was my video. If you guys do like it, please leave a like and subscribe. Thank you, and have a nice day.